2nd of March 2013, teaching about mindfulness. Close your eyes and relax the whole body and mind. We must be mindful to relax body and mind. We used to mindful to body and mind. What we must do now is to be mindful in relaxing mind and body. We must try our mind and body to be using only, without grasping as our own. With mindfulness to relax mind and body, we must try to abandon grasping mind and body. We are always using mind and body with grasping, with attachment. Paying attention to our mind and body is using mind and body with grasping. Mind and body is to use only. To be using only, we must try to relax mind and body. Relaxing is necessary not only in meditation but also in daily life. We can pay attention to breathing in and breathing out, but we must not pay attention in doing so. We must try to be doing only, to pay attention to when we are mindful to our breathing. We must try not to pay attention to our mindfulness. To follow this way, you must have open mind. If your mind is not open, you may practice what you used to do. To obey our desire or to do what we used to do is not difficult. If we pay attention to our desire and habits, our mind is not open. To understand my teaching, your mind must be open. If you are eager to understand what you used to understand, your mind is grasping what you used to know, and that's why you cannot understand my teaching. What you must try to do now is to copy my understanding and try to abandon your former understanding. This understanding is also to use only, not to reject and not to attach. To use your own understanding, you need to learn no more. To understand what we want to understand, we need to learn no more. We need to learn Buddha teaching. To understand what we do not understand, trying to be mindful to doing only and trying to be doing only without attachment to what we are doing and to our mind and body. Knowing and not knowing are also always happening in our mind. We must try to be knowing only and not knowing only. We must try to detach to knowing and not knowing. If there is no knowing, we must try to detach to that knowing. If there is not knowing or not understanding, we must try to detach to that not knowing or not understanding. If we cannot detach to not knowing, we must suffer because of not knowing the truth, because of not knowing what is happening in our mind. If we like knowing, we may dislike not knowing. If we like practicing meditation, we may dislike not practicing meditation. Both doing and not doing are to do only, to experience only, not to reject and not to attach. Be mindful to this right understanding and trying to be right practice. Because of grasping to one understanding, it is difficult for our mind to understand freely. If our mind is not free, we cannot practice freely. If your mind is free, you can do everything. If your mind is attached to practice this way, you can practice only this way. Attachment from our mind is making our actions to be limited. In fact, all the techniques are to use only, not to reject and not to attach. We must try to detach to everything, all the methods. You must try to detach to my teaching also. Attachment and wrong understanding is happening in our mind. That's why our mind is not free. We must try to be mindful freely. If we used to be mindful to ourselves, we will be unable to be mindful to Buddha and his teaching. To be able to abandon mindfulness to ourselves and our actions, we should be mindful to Buddha and his teaching. If we are mindful to saying of normal people, we will be unable to be mindful to Buddha's saying. By paying attention to Buddha's saying, we must try to abandon to our normal sayings. If we are mindful to our normal understanding, we are unable to know Buddha's understanding. My teaching is about understanding, which Buddha wants us to understand. Because of attachment to our normal understanding, it may be difficult to understand deeply. Making donation, keeping precepts, and practicing meditation, all are to do only. If there is cause, there will also be effect. If we can do only, we will also be able to experience only. For all happenings, knowing and not knowing are also to experience only, to use only. There may be understanding and not understanding, but you must continue your practice. Not to stop. Our practice is important. Understanding and not understanding is not important. If you are grasping your mind and body, be mindful to relax mind and body and try to be using only. If you are paying attention to knowing or not knowing, be mindful to doing only and trying to detach to that knowing and not knowing. If there is doubt in this practice, mindful to doing only and trying to detach to this practice. Because of attachment to the Creator Truth, our mindfulness cannot be on the Creator Truth. to do only, to use only, to know only, to experience only is the truth, what we cannot understand fully. We must try to be mindful to this truth. The more we be to the truth doing only, there will be less and less mindfulness to the greater truth. This practice will make your mind open. If your mind is open, nothing is difficult to understand. And also, nothing is difficult to do. This practice intends to use your mind freely. In fact, the mind we know is to use only. Using the mind as our own or something is not using only. With mindfulness to right understanding, which is doing only, we must try to use our mind to be using only with the power of right understanding and detachment. We can understand real impermanent nature and permanent nature. Wrong understanding and attachment can understand only about impermanent nature and permanent nature. Right understanding and detachment can understand directly to impermanent nature and permanent nature. Because of wrong understanding and attachment, we can understand only about Buddha and his teaching. If there is right understanding and detachment, we can understand real Buddha and real Dhamma. These are Four Noble Truths or impermanent nature and permanent nature. By using right understanding, we must try to abandon the idea of someone or something. The idea of someone or something is already in our mind. We must change our mindfulness from the created truth to the truth of the created truth. To do only, to use only, to know only, to experience only is the truth of all the created truth. The wisdom we are using in all physical, mental, and other actions we know are just created truth. Our wisdom and all happenings we know are just created truth. Our wisdom and all knowing and not knowing happening in our mind are also just created truth. All the created truths are to do only, to use only, to know only, to experience only. We used to think what to do, and that's why we used to do what we used to do. Our normal mindfulness is only to our normal actions. Change our mindfulness to doing only and try to be doing only in practicing meditation. If you can practice meditation with right understanding and detachment, you are in the right way. If you can practice meditation with right understanding and detachment, you must try to use right understanding and detachment in our daily life. Practicing meditation with right understanding and detachment is not complete yet. Whatever we do, we must try to do with right understanding and detachment. Because of grasping the idea of someone or something, we have to be angry, hatred, upset. If your mind is open, there will be no problems in our mind. Teaching is over now. Any question? You must try to detach to my teaching. You must try to pay attention to my teaching. All oral actions are to detach only. All action, including physical, oral, and mental action, all are not to reject and not to attach. Now you listen to my teaching and you must try to detach to my teaching. It is possible if you can understand. This is the practice you must do, and in this way you must try to be successful in this practice. If you can detach to my teaching, it is not difficult to detach to saying of other people. There may be a lot of talking in the world. If you cannot detach to this oral action, you must suffer. If you can detach to the talk, your mind will be free. You are paying attention to my teaching. You must try to pay attention to right understanding, to experience only, to use only. All problems can be solved with right understanding, to use only, to experience only. What I can do, what I can say, what I can think, all are limited. So also your action. All actions are to experience only. When you do action, you must try to be doing only. When you know doing of someone, you must try to be experiencing only. That is the right way how to use the created truth. You must try to detach to yourself and to other people also. That detachment power is very useful. If you cannot detach, you must use your own power. You must use your brain. You must use your life. You must use your action. Direct using to the mind and body is wrong. By trying to detach to the mind and body, we will be able to use mind and body freely. If you cannot detach to yourself, you can understand normally like other person. If you are a child, you will understand like other child. If you are old, you will understand like other old people. If you can detach to yourself, you can understand freely. Your understanding will be limitless. Understanding of someone has limit. Understanding only is limitless. If we cannot detach to ourselves, we must always think about ourselves. Thinking only is thinking without misunderstanding of I. The real thinking only is just doing only, thinking only, without the idea of I. To be free from misunderstanding of I, we must try to detach, we must try to abandon paying attention to ourselves. If you cannot abandon paying attention to ourselves, you will not understand doing only, thinking only. Doing with I is not doing only. Thinking with I is not thinking only. Yes, you can think without attachment to the actions of thinking. It is possible to be doing only without any attachment. We used to think with misunderstanding of I, and that's why we grasp our thinking as our ideas. If you are able to be thinking only, you are, because of the power of detachment, you can get unusual idea. If you are sick, your mind will be upset because of attachment to the situation of sickness. If you can detach to the situation of sickness or healthy, your mind will be free. You may be old, you may be sick, you may die, but if you can detach to this situation, your mind will be free. The power of detachment will protect your mind. If your mind is safe, your life is also safe. If your mind is upset, your mind is dangerous. Yes. It is possible. Mindfulness to right understanding, very good habit. If there is pain in the body, you can detach to the pain and you can be mindful to right understanding. If you are not paying attention to the pain, you may not suffer, and also that pain will not last long. That power of detachment is very amazing. You may have aim for your life at the present time, but there may also be attachment to your dream. If you can detach to what you want to be, that power of detachment will be able to become your dream true. Không có thể.